YouTube, it's Tone. I'm back with another one for you. This one is a continuation of dealing with presentments. This is the second video. And here in the last one, we finished off talking about how they changed the definitions. Instead of having to change the laws, they can just change the words to fit their desired narrative, right? So let's get into this here. See what we got. So they changed the meanings attributed to the same word in normal speech. Examples of this are legion. One of the most prominent of which is the word person, which in law refers to a legal fiction and does not and cannot pertain to a real being. This is why we need law dictionaries in addition to regular ones. The result is the legal system is its own language, which is called legalese, concerning which we allegedly need translators and mouthpieces called attorneys for using esoteric language that is not spoken by laymen when in a forum such as a court, wherein legal language is spoken. So the legal language being legalese. So 10. When language, symbols, and ideas are usurped by those who would play win or lose games, then are wielded as weapons, right? So this is when they're taking like the pentacle, the pentagram, and things like that, inverting it, switching it, making it work for them or whatever. But really, I mean, it's the same symbols that were given to all of us. You can't just fucking take them and claim them and shit. It doesn't work like that. So, but they do use them to mind control you and things like that as well, because they all do carry a certain frequency and resonance. So when you see these symbols, you're not just seeing these, you're fucking experiencing these, and they're doing something to you, and you should know that. So this phenomenon, has grown to such gargantuan proportions that it is a scourge on mankind and a blight on the planet that is destroying civilization and wreaking havoc on the earth. Some of the reasons things have gotten so far out of hand is that the capacity to create and use new derivatives is unending. So there are derivatives of derivatives of derivatives, all freely utilized for exploitation, meaning that they're going to just change the meaning of words a million times to the point where they can just say something and literally just pull one over on you because you don't know what the fuck it means. So legal plunder and power. So use of these, creating endless new derivatives at will, is ever increasing. The situation is akin to an internet site within which clicking the to delete a current window causes several new pop-ups to occur until until one's open file is overburdened with open windows, right? And fucking it's basically a virus. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna get so overwhelmed that you just shut down and just fucking agree to whatever they say because they make it so multifaceted and complicated purposely. Hoping that you don't figure it out, or grimy. So a few concrete examples of derivatives with respect to the legal system are as follows. A. The system invents and uses contrived derived names such as a host of variations of one's all caps name, all of which are legal fictions and each of which is a different entity. Instead of one's full appellation consisting of a full lowercase and uppercase and upper and lower letters symbolizing the real being. Therefore, whenever one receives a presentment such as a summons or complaint, the document is not addressed and does not pertain to you, but a legal entity. And ens legis, that is some bastardization of your name in all caps letters. In this manner, the system is freed from the requirement to deal with the actual facts and real beings. It can operate on presumptions, unsupported allegations, non-existent debts, stipulations, and contractual interactions between legal fictions and endless concoctions of the mind. So that's the issue that you're going to run into. And even if, look, so people like, they always talk about, the all caps name matters and shit like that. It really fucking doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your name is in fucking all caps or if it's in upper lower. If you want to be real, because all that matters is that it's ultimately a commercial public entity attempting to make contact with a real living man or woman. That shit could never fucking happen. I don't give a fuck if McDonald's writes my name in upper and lower case, bro. That shit could never speak to me because it's not fucking real. So it doesn't matter if your shit's in upper and lower. I mean, to be real, if they're trying to have communication with you by any means, if it's coming from a corporation, that shit is the fucking corporation that they're making reference to. Real simple. So, just to clarify because of what I just read there. So That's going to be a fact. If on the letterhead is a stamp of a corporation, then bet your ass that what they're making reference to in that document is a corporation, because there's no way that a corporation can ever speak to you. So it doesn't matter if it's upper or lower. If it's coming from them, the shit is commercial. So the new case numbers are often created from the same case by such as by changing numbers or letters in the case, thereby enabling matters that you might submit in the original case, as well as any prior derivatives thereof, from needing to be addressed, since they do not pertain to what you thought they did. It is also likely that the system uses each newly derived case to make yet more money. Of course they do. Every time they give you another court date, it's another bond. So yeah. That's why you got to go back a million times to deal with something that you could have just dealt with on the first day, right? So laws and administrative agencies multiply endlessly, with each new derivative used to make more and more money in the system, while increasing the scope and severity of their power, and increasingly difficult to comprehend or counter. And that's the thing too. But it really isn't. I mean, ultimately, fundamentally, like I just mentioned, it's all just commercial. So approach it from that angle and you'll be fine, because it's just principles and things like that at that point. So in the 2002 Berkshire Hathaway company of Warren Buffett annual report on pages 13 to 15 appears the following words: "We view them, derivatives, as time bombs for both parties that deal in them and the economic system. In our view, derivatives are financial weapons of mass destruction, carrying dangers that, while now latent and potentially lethal, if those in the system can create endless new derivatives out of almost anything at any time and use them for exploitation, enslavement, and money making at the expense of those who are victimized by the monopolistic use of power and under color of law, Warren Buffett's statement is self-evident. Further, those who act in this way may be regarded as terrorists using weapons of mass destruction. They are raping and pillaging with ever-increasing profligacy and blatancy." And they do that. I mean, rightfully so, because they're really doing a fucking amazing job. I mean, you gotta hand it to them when you fucking gotta hand it to them. So they're doing a great job, but the shit is grimy, and the shit is definitely grimy. So, but this is the whole point of speaking on the issues too as well, right? So, what you gotta understand is that I don't just talk about these things just to complain about it and not have any resolutions for them, right? So we speak on these issues so that way you can become aware of them, acknowledge them, and then understand how the rules of the game go, so you can play that shit properly. Because if you don't understand your enemy, you can fucking never play the game properly. How the hell could you, right? So just to get that clear, because I don't enjoy speaking about any of this dumb shit. That's why I'm doing it one time on the video and then fucking leave it there. You know what I mean? So, but just so that way you can know, since nobody's going to read this shit. In addition to inventing, using, profiting from, and destroying lives wholesale by the unchecked use of derivatives, the system rules without revealing the rules of the game. By means of the undisclosed presumptions, the elite have structured a scheme that is full of catch-22s, so that if we do not act, we lose. If we do act, we lose. Right? These motherfuckers are ridiculous. So it is the presumption, not the law of the facts, where the power lies. The designer and the owners of the system concocted it for the purpose of bettering themselves vis-a-vis others, through others, or via others. So the result of a monstrous beast of cosmic proportions, So the result of a monstrous beast of cosmic proportions, a ravenous and insatiable Moloch that has an expression of a single and simple ethical choice, which is whether one chooses to play win-win games or win-lose games when interacting with others. The features of these two kinds of games are summarized as follows. Number one, a win-win interaction is an expression of peace, dignity, love, unity, harmony, mutual good faith, absence of malice, deceit, and presence of all the other elements of the contract law required to formulate a genuine contract. The consent of all parties is essential. It's actually mandatory, okay? So two, a win-lose interaction is an expression of separate conflict and disharmony, and never results in the contract the winner claims exist. In actuality, a win-lose interaction is non-existent, since even the winner loses. So such an apparent victor causes harm to others, creation, and himself. He may think he wins, but in accordance with the inexorable laws of existence, he reaps what he sows. And that's a fact too. So if you're playing the game grimy and your whole goal is only to win, and in the process of that you're hurting someone else, essentially what you're drawing into your life is that, because you can only get what you get, really, right? So incurs the corresponding karma, action, reaction, cause, effect, act, and their exact consequences. By harmful acts, the golden rule in existential terms might be expressed: one who harms others harms himself, or that which one does unto others shall be done unto him. He who lives by the short sword shall die by the sword. So you live by the sword, die by the sword. Same thing with the gun, etc. Right? So a win-lose interaction in terms of nature is called the food chain, law of the jungle, dog eat dog. This characterizes law and governments today, and which is called the law of necessity. The law of necessity, actually no law. Law is suspended to deal with the emergency, which the government itself causes to use as an excuse to abolish rights and increase its own discretionary power. Witness the host of laws being passed these days, such as Patriot Acts, and that's a crazy one. In any win-lose game, there is no morality nor ethics, and only one rule: just eat. So anything goes since the end, increased by power and commercial enrichments of the perpetrators, justifies the means. As a result, no win-lose interaction results in a valid contract enforceable at law. The involvement does not contain even one of the essential ingredients, all of which must exist in the interaction of contract law to form a genuine contract. So it is because the inner intent. I don't know why I chopped these slides so freaking small, man. They're hard to read. These fucking things are tiny. So it is because the inner intent of the heart of those who have designed masterminded this system over the ages is malevolent in some manner, that the resulting Moloch is loosed to run amok on the planet, devouring living beings, the rights, freedom, and ability to live in peace and harmony between people, and the Earth's resources and ecological integrity. Indeed, the same gang has throughout the ages built up and destroyed at least 7 civilizations or Zions, and is now in the midst of destroying the 8th, our civilization today. This is transpiring in the United States. For instance, well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. So among many other aspects of this that are through the use of the zip codes, the world's nation with postal codes are divided up into quarter-acre lots, inventory for liquidation. The world belongs to the ruthless, i.e., those who deliberately play win-or-lose exploitation games through interminable uses of legalized violence. The cardinal nature of the system today is that everything skates unless you bust. So the undisclosed presumption of this basis is which power is exercised or free to operate against you unless checked, unless you neutralize them. And so you do have to check them, ultimately, you know what I'm saying? And that's when you put them on notice and things like that, because, you give them an opportunity to state that what they're doing is legal, and that, that what you're saying, the constitutional challenge, is a invalid document. You're giving them opportunities, so this is checking them. And if you look at it like chess, you definitely got to put these motherfuckers in check. You know what I'm saying? Especially knowing how they move. It would be a stupid move not to. So as the maxims, because then you're always going to be on defense instead of offense. And what the fuck, what type of game do you want to play, right? So as the maxim of the law says, the negative, the absence of any operational undisclosed presumptions, is to be proved. So, you can let them operate under presumptions, assumptions, and things of that nature. But, ultimately, if you want to get down to the bottom of it, you're going to need to see the origin of where their presumptions stem from. Because presumptions are not fact in law, and so they can just, you can assume whatever you want, but that shit is your problem. So part 2, attitudes and actions. Now that we have some idea of the challenge we face just by living in the world today, we can use the understandings to help formulate solutions. Ideally, success involves 4 elements, which are in largely chronological sequence. So number 1, knowing and living who you are, your true self, convictions, and creed. And that's gonna give you a whole different type of energy too. When you start to learn who you are, you're gonna notice your whole vibe changes, and people get uncomfortable around you once your energy changes. And that's a funny part of this shit too. It's funny. So, articulating properly in documents that define who you are and what you are with a witness notary. Number three, noticing and securing confirmation from those who you would like to acknowledge your true self and standing. So that's putting them on notice. So defending your position in adversarial encounters with the system, both in the field and in court. And so that shit is optional because you really don't have to speak to these motherfuckers at all. So, when it comes to defending anything, why the fuck should you have to defend anything? You shouldn't, right? Because to do that, you're going to have to be making claims and shit like that. You really shouldn't fucking have to. So everything should already be done before you even go to court. That's you giving notices, keeping all your, what do you call it? The administrative process documentation, which is court, right? You're going to keep all the agreement receipts, all your return slips. That is court. So if there was ever an issue, it isn't about defending shit. It's just going in there to prove facts and just to make a few statements. That's all. So the following are some and show up with your bills and things like that too, right? Because you're gonna have some invoices once these people violate. So it's a different game at that point. You're not defending shit. So the following are some practical ideas concerning actualizing effective strategy. Number one, the most important thing is knowledge and understanding of what it is that's happening. Therefore, the first priority is get educated. There is no substitute for this, especially in the climate in which we now live. In the celebrated words of Thomas Jefferson, if a nation expects to be ignorant and free, it expects what never was and never can be. So first and foremost, getting educated requires knowing yourself, who you are and what you are, and becoming clear, confident, and established in yourself, the real being. So number two, the nature of the times is escalating the timeless imperative to make one's spiritual life paramount. Increasingly, the state of the world is communicating the message that the only way out is in. Living in accordance with the understanding that cultivating and realizing our inner being, i.e. spiritual awakening and realization, is more important, enduring, and conducive to providing us with the happiness, peace, and fulfillment that alone will satisfy the heart and soul than anything we can see, do, experience, or have in the outside world. So we all have two wars to win and opponents with which to deal. Ourselves being number one, obtaining self-mastery, and two, a hostile, deceitful, and treacherous world. So if we do not win the internal battle and become clear about what we are, who we are, and how we want to live, relate to others, and deal with the system, we have no hope of winning in encounters with the ruthless aggression to which we are relentlessly subjected. And that's the thing, and so that's a big thing. And I mean, it's kind of hard to have a defense, a statement, or anything of that nature when you don't know who you are, because then you're gonna have to hire somebody to speak for you because you don't know who you are, right? So foundational presumption. So everyone is a free will, sovereign being responsible for his or her own acts, thereby enabling law to exist at all. Without this presumption, no one could be held accountable for anything, and no basis would exist for any rules or rectitude. The system always wins and the people always lose. This is number two. This is what they say, right? So the system can change the law, invent new laws, and alter interpretations of law and words at will, since it is all presumed to be their property, and it is, because it's a private, for-profit business. So they can write their policies however they wish. So those in the system are not under any compulsion to reveal the presumptions on the basis of which they function. It is impossible to play a game when one does not know the rules. If playing a game with those who does not only know the rules thoroughly, but have a carte blanche to change them at will, one does not know what is going on. The result is a slaughter. It belies in the quotation found in the Law Review. We hear of tyrants and the cruel ones, but whatever we may have felt, we have never heard of any tyrant in such court cruel as to punish men for disobedience to laws in order which he had kept from them the knowledge. So they're hiding the freaking laws from you, essentially, is what this thing is saying. And how do you enforce a hidden contract? You know what I'm saying? So that shit has to come to light if there was anything that was sitting in the dark like that, like any type of hidden contracts. So that's why you want to make sure that they go ahead and bring those out to prove that they had this authority that they're claiming that they have, right? So synopsis of the problem. Our challenges when dealing with the system including the following. Number one, the law is unlimited and no one can know it all. Number two, Number two, law is always changing, so that at any point something that previously was legal, recognized, and upheld might no longer be so. That's funny, huh? So the system does not belong to us and changes perpetually without notice by those who own it. Number four, there are an infinite number of ways to interpret any event and essentially any law, as those with experience in court can attest. It is impossible, right? And that's why you have to get to the bottom of the bottom of the matter, and find out what the cause and nature are, what the definitions are, where these regulations are being derived from, right? Like there's a lot of factors. So number six, the powers that be study and exploit every aspect of man's nature, good and bad, with malevolent intent. Perhaps what they do and the way they subjectively feel what they are doing is regarded by them as legitimate or even worthy or even more divinely mandated. In any case, when governed by this win or lose mentality, the world becomes a nightmare. The dominating climate is not one to live and let live peacefully and honorably and honorable intent and harmonize between people, but a perpetual war zone involving the need to live under a legalized violence system that acts in accordance with the mentality that the end, their self-aggrandizement and power, justifies the means, and nothing is not permitted, so anything goes. So these are the rules that they're playing by. So what the fuck rules are you playing by? You know what I'm saying? So this foundational presumption may be the only presumption underlying the entire legal system that is existentially and ethically valid. The rest are fictions and frauds used for nefarious purposes, meaning the fictional characters that they create to look exactly like your name. And the whole thing is this, is that if you were not intentionally trying to defraud people out of something or trick people into believing that they were the name, why the fuck wouldn't you put it into a different name? Because you're making the fictional character with the same exact name as the fucking real living person. So if you're not trying to trick them, why wouldn't you put that into a different name? Think about that. So number three, in the absence of self-realization, we live at the expense of life. We expend time, effort, and energy attempting to acquire things in the outside of the world, the essence and the origin of which we do not possess in our own being and consciousness. In such, we lose the root and cling to the treetops, where our platform of operation is ungrounded, and that's not a good look. So number four, so live to be free of blame, where blame is defined as blocking someone's way without just ethical cause, as it is said, for blocking no one's way, no one blames him. If you do not interfere in people's lives, you will not incur the repercussions for doing so, thereby immunizing yourself from having to deal with the entangling and undesirable consequences of your actions. Number five, stay in your own domain. If you do not traverse into your adversary's turf, you do not create a nexus between you and them that allows the system to engulf you. Accomplishing this includes becoming clear about the nature of public and private, and accomplishing this includes becoming clear and so when and how you are acting in which domain. So that's what's going to indicate where you are, if you're either in the public or the private. So if you leave your ground of substance, reality, and sovereignty to go into the domain of illusion, treachery, and deceit, your situation is hopeless. By doing so, you are abandoning a position where you have clout and they have none, in favor of going into a realm where they have all the power and you have none. The public side is their game and property, not yours, so you have no standing, rights, and power there. Your body is real and came into the world before any fictitious version of your given private name at any birth certificate or any document could be derived by the system to use for its betterment and your detriment. So that's just a few things to keep in mind right there. And I mean, you guys are gonna like the next couple of videos too. This thing gets deep. So it is a game of chess. Stop playing checkers with these clowns. That's what I got for you for now. Until we meet again.